And so I think the arts have a power to make us better human beings and better communicators with ourselves and with those around us. I mean, it's a cliche thing to say that the arts are a mirror of society, but I think it's a cliche because it's true. So, and in terms of supporting the arts, I mean, support can mean a lot of things, right? For the fortunate few, it means financially supporting. In this particular instance, with the zip code plays, these are being rolled out free of charge to anyone who wants to hear them in this audio format. And I do think that, again, I mean, there is a gift that is being given to Los Angeles through that. It's something to talk about. It's something to experience, even though we can experience it in the privacy of our own homes. Hi, I'm Angela J. Davis. I'm a Los Angeles-based writer, and it was my sheer joy to be one of the authors of the Zip Code plays. I think what Antaeus did, which I really appreciate, was they looked around and thought, so much is happening with Zoom theater, and as great as it is that people are doing that, maybe we should try something a little different. And what they decided, I mean, you'll have to talk to them to get their version of it, but from my vantage point, what it looked like they were deciding was to do something that could be done in the COVID environment, but would still be theater at the highest levels. And so they decided to produce a series of radio plays. And they called on members of the lab, the playwrights who were already members of the lab, to submit proposals for individual plays. And I really owe a debt of gratitude to Antaeus because I didn't really have it in my head to be writing a play specifically for radio. But when they put out the call, I just thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. Around the same time that they put out the call, there were massive demonstrations about social justice and historical wrongs that needed to be addressed, including with the toppling of statues. And I've always been fascinated by statues. And of course, they're all over Central Park in New York. But they're also in Los Angeles. They're not as plentiful, but we do have statues in Los Angeles, including in downtown LA, in front of the original train station, Union Station in downtown LA. There was a very large statue of Father Junipero Serra, who's a controversial person right now, but regardless of how you view Junipero Serra, it's undeniable that he had a profound impact on California history. Practically every city name and state name is traceable to the Spanish conquest and Junipero Serra's missions. And his statue was toppled by protesters in June of this year. And I was kind of fascinated by the statues in our midst and how they impact our consciousness. And I was also fascinated by the good and the bad that can flow from historical people in history who tried to do good. And so what happens in the play is a little bit of magic. Around the same time that Junipero Serra's statue was toppled, interestingly enough, there was a comet circling the atmosphere called, wonderfully named comet called the Neo-Wise. Okay, the Neo-Wise comet was also kind of close to California, right around the time that Junipero Serra's statue was toppled. And it's gorgeous. I mean, if you see pictures of it from capable photographers, it's quite a scene just to see the comet up in the sky, looking like it might be headed for Earth. And so in my play, it's a bit of a fantasy with a kernel of seriousness. But what happens is the comet, in fact, stirs up the particulate atmosphere of Los Angeles, and some of the statues in Los Angeles, including Brea Serra, who's been knocked to the ground, come back to life. And the play is about what happens next after the statues come back to life. I tried to keep it fun, and I will say that I hope the actors and directors had fun working on it. And it's also, there's a kernel of seriousness. I think the best comedy does have a kernel of seriousness. So I hope that that's there and that people see it. And I just, I hope people enjoy it. This was an embarrassment of riches. I just felt incredibly fortunate to be part of this project. And starting with the Antaeus company, which I've already talked about and which I love, and love them just as an audience member, just purely as a consumer. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful company. And I would go to see their plays and have gone to see their plays before I was at all working with them. I'll start with the director, Steve Rodman, who I have worked with before, is just a terrific theater director who also has a tremendous amount of experience in television. If you pick any primetime TV show from about the mid-90s onward, he probably directed it, at least one or two episodes. I was, the first time that I met Steve, I was actually even a little bit worried because I knew the caliber of people that he had worked with before. And I was a little nervous about meeting his standards. But he's an incredibly hard worker. He's got decades of experience in both theater and film. He's also directed main stage productions at Antaeus and also at the Geffen in Los Angeles and at East Coast theaters, including the Long Wharf. And he was also a director at the O'Neill National Theater Institute. So it's a thrill to work with him. And what's wonderful about him is that he never, ever phones it in. He is a workaholic and has the work ethic of a genius who is fresh out of college and working on his first play and making sure he makes a good impression. I mean, he's just got a consummate, terrific work ethic, which is great. And he also reads scripts incredibly closely. I mean, he would call me or text me saying, oh, you have this line here, and maybe you could set it up a little bit better, or there's an inconsistency, and just going over the script with a fine-tooth comb many times, which is a gift, I think, to a writer. Some writers get irritated with that. I view it as this gift to me that a director is reading my script so closely. The actors, so it's a cast of 3, and Abigail Marks, or Abby Marks, plays Clara Shortridge Foltz. I've seen Abby in other productions at Antaeus and also at South Coast Repertory. She's a terrific actress, great Shakespearean actress, and can do comedy and serious drama, which is one thing that I was looking for, because Clara Shortridge Foltz was essentially, I like to think of her as the mother of the California justice system. She was California's first female lawyer. And so she has kind of a 19th century spirit about her. But at the same time, she's very much ahead of her time. She is obviously in favor of women having the vote, but she's also in favor of women being lawyers and being able to be licensed as lawyers and enter a courtroom, which was not permissible. That was an avenue not open to women until she came along. She's a true historical figure. That's who Abby plays. And I knew she would be terrific, and it was a joy to work with her. Father Junipero Serra, who does come back to life, is played by Tony Amendola, another just terrific Shakespearean actor. And one of the things about Father Junipero Serra is I tried to give him his own voice. He is a historical figure right now who's getting attention and a lot of opinion. Defending him, attacking him, and there's a lot, there's a lot being said on all sides of Junipero Serra. And what I tried to do in the play is let him speak for himself, and I tried very hard to give him a voice that would be his own. And that's kind of what I tried to do with him. And I also, the play begins with him having been knocked to the ground and waking up inside his statue. So he's in a little bit of pain and discomfort. He's also been asleep inside his statue for a very long time. So it's news to him that California is no longer part of Spain. And I tried to give him his own voice. And then there is, of course, a talking bear. It's Kelly Louise Duarte, and who's wonderful, who has this larger than life. He is a newer member of Antaeus, and I had actually not known his work before. And Antaeus suggested him to both the director and myself, saying, "Oh, he's perfect for this. He's perfect." And there is something about Kelly that indeed is just perfect for this role, because he's a big guy, which obviously doesn't necessarily come across in a radio play. But I think you can sort of feel both in the way that he handled the role and also in him as a person. You can feel this sort of solidity and heft. And the other thing that I loved about Kelly is I watched a reel of his other work, and he can be scary and a little threatening and menacing, like a giant bear, which this is. But he also has this wonderful warmth about him, and this humor and this love for life, which is what the character needed. And I think Kelly was terrific in bringing those things to the role. And I think he was having fun with it, which I really, I hope all actors have fun with my writing, but particularly a talking bear, you want that actor to be having a good time with the role. And I did notice in rehearsals, he seemed to be having fun with the role and really embracing it. And the bear, I will say that the bear is kind of the soul of the play. And the bear has a lot to say to the human counterparts. And he has some criticisms of them. But he also has some wisdom. He has big ears. And he's been listening to a lot of things for a very long time. The bear is kind of the soul of the play, and he's a little bit childish. He is an animal, but he's an animal who talks. And the play explains how he got to talk. I hope that they enjoy it. And if there is a serious message in the play, there's something that the bear tells the humans to do at the end of the play, and it's a very simple message. The bear is in some ways better than us, right? I sometimes think animals are better than humans in their innocence and honesty. I mean, obviously, animals didn't write the Ninth Symphony or get a rocket ship to Mars, and there are ways in which human intelligence and creativity are irreplaceable. But there's an innocence and a childlike zest for life that animals have. And this character has that. And I kind of give him a message at the end. And also Clara has a little bit of a follow-up message that Serra joins her in. You know, they end up agreeing with each other about something. So I think in the final moments of the play, there's kind of a little kernel of seriousness. I hope that they enjoy it. The play is written to be enjoyed. And there's I think a sweet and life-affirming message at the end. I'm looking forward to all of them. I have great respect for these other writers, and I'm really grateful to be among them. I can't wait. I feel like I'm an audience member here just as much as anyone else, because I have not. I know as much as you know about the other plays. I've seen the descriptions that are online, and I know who the actors are. There are some terrific actors in those other plays, and there are some terrific writers and directors behind them. So I'm really looking forward to all of that. The one other thing that I will just mention is one commonality through all the plays is Jeff Gardner, the sound designer, who is a genius. He's done magnificent work, and I was thrilled to get a chance to work with him because I knew his work from LA Theater Works, and purely as a consumer and an audience member, I absolutely adore LA Theater Works. And Jeff had done, and I think still does, a lot of the sound effects for LA Theater Works, and he's just an absolute master. And the way that he does it, you really feel like this moment is unfolding in front of you. And, you know, whether it's the clink of dinnerware or glasses of wine between two characters or a car starting. So I'm really looking forward to hearing not only the plays, but also Jeff's work. And there's also there's music going through the plays. I'm really looking forward to hearing that. It was really an amazing undertaking. One of the things that was done was, because of COVID, the actors were not going to go into a studio, right? Which is normally what you would do if you were going to record professional quality radio plays. You would have them in a sound studio. Jeff built these contraptions, which was kind of like a little box on top of a tripod, so that the actor would sound isolated, and so that the subliminal noises that none of us would ever notice would be identical as between the different actors, even though they were in different locations. I mean, it was really terrific. And there's actually there's a video on the Antaeus website right now about that process. And I think it's fascinating that they were able to do that. I think that one of the wonderful things that Antaeus has done here is they have found a way to make theater, and to make it at a time when it's very difficult because of COVID-19 and the limitations that all of us have. And it's really a gift that they are giving to Los Angeles. These plays are free, by the way. There's no charge for viewing the plays. I believe they got a grant there was a generous grant from a nonprofit organization that helped them with the professional quality rendering of these readings. but it's really kind of a gift that's there for the taking, because the plays will be available on their website and also on major podcast platforms. You don't have to buy a ticket. You don't have to leave your house. And there's some of the most wonderful actors and directors and sound engineer that you can find got together to do this. So it's a generous thing that they're doing. Hi, I'm Angela J. Davis. I'm a Los Angeles-based writer, and it was my sheer joy to be one of the authors of the Zip Code plays. And they are going to be available beginning November 12th for free to anyone who wants to hear them on the Antaeus Theater Company website, as well as on all major podcast platforms.